Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole and today we have another new word beginner guide and we talk about attributes. And I know what you were thinking. Oh no, we talk about numbers? I hate numbers. Me too, especially when the game is doing a relatively bad job in explaining to you what exactly those numbers mean, what they do and what they don't do. So to smash your enemies, you have to know the numbers. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the soft cap in New World. You are getting 190 attribute points just through leveling. If you have reached level 60, you have gained 190 points. You can put into strength, dexterity, intelligence, focus, or constitution. And everything beyond that is coming from your items. Which brings us also to the hard cap, and that is at 300. So if you have reached 300 points through the attribute points you can contribute and through the points you are getting on your items, that's it. Yes, you can go beyond 300 points, but it doesn't do anything. Like literally, you are getting 0 out of putting more points than 300 into a specific attribute. So just don't do it. And yes, there are also diminishing returns in that game, but it seems like we haven't figured out all of them yet. We know from a few diminishing returns here and there, and I will definitely talk about them when we are getting to them. But it seems like there are still some diminishing returns and some things theory crafters haven't fully figured out yet, and we are basically still trying to do so. But let's talk about primary and secondary attributes. I see a lot of people asking this because, well, the game is not explaining you at all what that means. There's a question mark here and is telling you that there is a primary attribute and a secondary attribute for certain weapons, like strength. For the Warhammer, Great Axe, Sword, and Hatchet, the primary attribute is strength. For the Spear, it is the secondary attribute. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about the primary attribute. Whenever you put a point into an attribute, and you have a certain weapon under it, like let's say the sword and shield, that weapon will do more damage. How much? Well, that depends on the weapon. By the way, if you want to see the full list, you can find it in the video description. But let's talk about the sword and shield here. If you would put one strength or one attribute point into strength, your shield and sword will do 2% more damage for every point. Now again, as I said, this is completely different for, let's say, the hatchet. The hatchet is only getting 1.5% more damage for every strength point, or the Warhammer is even getting 2.5% more damage for every strength point. So it really depends like on the weapon. As I said, the whole list is in the video description. But let's talk about the secondary attribute point. How much damage does that net you? Well, again, it really depends on the weapon. Let's stick with the sword and shield, because the sword and shield also scales with dexterity. And for every point in dexterity, you would do 0.5% more damage with the sword and shield. That is a huge difference, right? From 2% to 0.5%. But it really depends on the weapon. Let's go back to the hatchet. Remember when I said the hatchet gets 1.5% more damage for every strength point? With dexterity, it's 1% more damage. So the difference is only 0.5% big, and it's not as big as, let's say, the sword. So it really depends on the weapon, and you have to go through the list and then you have to decide for yourself if it is worth it. But if you really want to push a very specific weapon, go with the primary attribute. Like seriously, that's how you get the most damage out of it, and that's what you want to go with. So let's say you are somebody who is running around with sword and shield most of the time, but you also have a bow or a musket with you now and then. You can basically put that into dexterity and a little bit in strength, because the sword and shield is still getting a bit of more damage through dexterity, but you really want to focus on the main attribute when you are having like a main weapon you want to work with. Of course, it is a little bit easier with intelligence when you are like a mage, right? If you have the ice gauntlet and the fire staff, you are pushing both weapons. and it works a little bit different there, and it makes it a little bit easier. Now let's talk about Constitution. Well, Constitution is doing exactly what it offers you. It gives you more health, but Constitution is under diminishing returns. So every point in Constitution at the beginning will give you 25 more health. The more health you are putting in Constitution, or more Constitution point you have, you will suffer under diminishing return, and it will go down to 21 health points per Constitution. And you might have noticed something. I have been dancing around focus quite a bit. I haven't mentioned focus yet, and there's a reason for that. Because, weirdly enough, focus is not telling you what it really does. Yes, sure, when you are going over it, it tells you it's the primary attribute for the life staff. But that's it, right? Wrong. Focus is doing much more. The first thing it does, it also pushes your mana regeneration. Every point in focus will increase your mana regeneration by 2%. Why is the game not telling you that? I have no clue. You know what's even more shocking? Focus is also reducing your cooldowns on all of your abilities by 0.2% for every point in focus. Why is the game not telling you that? Again, I have absolutely no clue about that. I don't know, but it does it. And I would really love to see that they're adding this from the beta to the full release, because let's be honest here, there's enough room to put that somewhere, to make people aware that focus is not just for the people who are using life staff, but for everyone who is using a mage weapon, and even could be considered for people who are not using a mage weapon but who want to push down their cooldowns on their abilities, right? So it's not a useless stat for mages and non-mages alike, and not just good for the healers. It is a stat which is good for everyone, considering what you want and what you need. But I really hope they fix that. So keep that in mind. Focus is also giving you mana reg and cooldown reduction. But that was it. That was everything you have to know about the attributes for now. Keep in mind, this might change till the release is coming around or after the release. But as long as that doesn't happen, this video is pretty much up to date. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate if you might click on the like button. If you didn't like this video, well, the dislike button is right next to it. And if you're new to the channel, you want to see more New World content, Lost Ark, I'm also doing a lot of reaction videos, gaming news, and so on and so forth, you might want to consider to subscribe to the channel. It would be very much appreciated, and it would help me a ton. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe. Bye bye.